There was a man, and his name was Ahmed. Now, Ahmed was young, and he was very strong, and his occupation was that of a well digger. He would go from place to place, digging wells, but one day he was called to a village where the well had run dry. And the well was situated at the base of a mountain, so the villagers thought that perhaps a rock had rolled down and rolled into the well to stop it from having water. So Ahmed took his rope and he lowered himself down into the well, and it was very far down, but when he arrived at what seemed to be the bottom, he couldn't feel what was said to be a rock under his feet. In fact, it felt very furry. And so he thought to himself, well, maybe a cow had fallen into the well and died. So he took his spade to investigate, and he began to try to dig. And all of a sudden there was the most dreadful demonic wailing going on. And by this time Ahmed's sight had started to get used to the dark down here, there, and when he looked, he was standing on the head of a great, huge demon. He looked down, he could see the fangs dripping, and of course the demon was wailing. "What are you doing? What are you doing, you stupid human? I've got a good mind to eat you, right now." Well, Ahmed was quite conciliatory, and he said, "Oh, honorable demon, I'm sorry, I'm just investigating because the villagers are very concerned because their water is not flowing. They can't give water. They can't water their plants or give water to their children." Demon said, "I'm calling my feet and I'm staying here." Well, Ahmed said, well, what can I do for you? And the demon said, well, you can bring me food. Bring me a cartload of grapes. So Ahmed climbed out of the well, and he went to the head man of the village and told him what had happened, and they had a town meeting about it, and of course all the villagers were terribly concerned because not only did they not have water to water their plants and give to their children and cook their food, but now they were going to have all their fruit taken and their food taken out of their mouth. But, you know, the headman said, well, what can we do? I mean, so it was agreed that the cartload of grapes would be taken. So the next day Ahmed took the cartload of grapes, and the demon shouted, "What took you so long? I've been waiting. I'm hungry now." So all the grapes were passed down to him, and then the demon again threatened Ahmed and said, "I've got a good mind to kill you and eat you too." And Ahmed said, "Well, you know, the villagers are frightened of you. They won't come to the well. Who's going to bring you the food?" So the demon saw the sense of this, and he asked for a cartload of dates. So Ahmed went off, and the next day he brought the dates to the demon, who again went through the same little song and dance of threatening him and saying this was not enough and why did it take so long, and so forth and so on. But you know, the villagers were terribly concerned because they had no water. They had no water to give to their children. So after the dates, the demon said, "I would like to have some sweetmeats. I would like to have the best halwa that can be found. So the Ahmed went to the headman and the villagers, and they were just beside themselves. Now, not only were all their fruit going to go, but all of their sweets and their sugars and honeys and all were going to be used up in this harbor. But that was decided. What else could they do? They had to feed this demon. So, as it happened, there was a dervish who came into town, and he approached Ahmed and he said, "I believe that these town people are bedeviled by this demon, and I have a means of rectifying that. But you have to do exactly what I tell you." And Ahmed said, "Of course, I'll do whatever you say." So the dervish said, "Well, go and collect certain herbs, burn them, and crush them into ash, and sprinkle them on every piece of halwa that is made, intoning these words." And the dervish gave him some words. So this was done, and the halwa was taken to the demon. Well, of course, the demon went through the same. "Where have you been? I'm hungry, and why didn't you come sooner?" and so forth. But the halwa was fed to the demon. And then, after he'd finished eating all of these sweetmeats, the demon said, "And tomorrow you can bring me a cartload of the sweetest melons you can find." Well, no sooner had Ahmed climbed out of the well, then he saw an amazing thing happen. The demon's head appeared out of the well. He seemed to be swelling and swelling and swelling, and pretty soon his whole body, with his talons, wet feet, were out of the well. He'd grown to gigantic size, and like a balloon, he was floating up into the sky. And then all of a sudden, the villagers heard the most enormous explosion, and they were all very afraid and concerned about what this could be. But of course, the demon was gone. Well, Ahmed went back to the village and said it was now that the water would flow, but the people were very concerned. They were still very afraid to go back to the well. But the head man of the village stepped in and said, "No, it's quite all right, because the dervish came to me and told me that this is exactly what would happen after the powder was placed on the halwa and the words were spoken." So, of course, there was a great feasting, and Ahmed was richly rewarded for what he'd been able to do. So, out of this story arises the question, what was this powder? What were these herbs that, and in that little ritual of burning them and crushing them, sprinkling them, and what were these words that Ahmed was instructed to say as he put the powder on each piece of halwa? And if I bring it back to my personal experience, it's like this lifetime of how we deal with our demons. And, I realize that I've had a lot of words over my life. I have had a thread, which you could say is the little ritual of gathering the herbs, and that was yoga. To every day bring together in the asanas and in the meditation that followed, the body, mind and soul, bringing them together like those herbs, and using those asanas to burn, to crush all of the troubles of the day. And then I realized that the words that I'd been saying had changed over the years. First of all, for many, many, many years I used to say a prayer, and I had it propped up on my desk wherever I worked. God, give me the courage to live one day at a time, free from remorse and sorrow for the past, and free from fear of the future. So long your power has guided me, sure it will lead me on. That was my prayer for many, many, many years. And then it changed. And there have been words such as, I wonder what Divine Mother would do about this. If something arose, or there was some problem that I couldn't deal with, and my mind got caught in it. And then it was, only God is real. And what do you think it is now? Because we still have a mind. We still have those demons that arise. Now, I didn't do yoga for some years. Now I'm back to doing yoga, but it's different. It's not for the purpose of bringing together those three. It's to say that they're all together. They never were apart, but in that enactment of those asanas, it brought them together and brought a sense of peace after a day's work. But what are they for you? What are your herbs? Or maybe you can call it a thread too. And what is it now that you use to appease the demon, or even to destroy it, if it's one demon we have in our life? And we do have it. I'm not good enough, so forth and so on. So what would they be for you? Your thread, your herbs, your little ritual. And what are the words that you now find yourself saying when there's even a trace of that demon or demons arising for you? Doubt, fear, uncertainty. All right. Yes, yes, a little catchphrase, isn't it?
Catchphrase, yes, yes.
We have our knowing, but we still have this mind that has a tendency to try to get caught in doubts and fears and anxiety and so forth. And while we're in a body, we're always going to need, isn't it, to keep it in its place, doing what it's supposed to do. And I found it's not enough just to bring it back to the present moment. It's not enough. We need that staff, isn't it? To wave at it, hold it up. What is it for you? It's a paradox because we no longer have faith and trust and hope, and there's no God out there pulling strings. And yet it works for this mind to have that phrase. Isn't it so? We just have to bring it out and oops, oh.
For me, I love you and thank you seems to work.
All right. I love you, thank you. Yes.
Must be something I need to feel, and must be
Yes.
some reason why it's there, and as a lesson I've learned, sometimes I forgive you.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we know it works, isn't it?
Mm.
We know it works.
Yeah, I just thought it's to create something positive, you have to be positive.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I realized. But at the moment it's very hard for me.
It's hard to do. So in this instance, having arrived at this place where it's cancelled itself out really anyway, we have to have something arise for us that we recognize is the permanency in our life, the unchanging reality. And what we say represents that and brings the mind back to it. So we have to find those words. If we don't have them, we have to look deep for them. Otherwise we're like a dead leaf blowing in the wind. We're not dead leaves blowing in the wind. Do you know? See what I'm saying? We're not going with the flow. There is no flow. So we have to bring it back to that which is permanent, that which is unchanging. And that which is unchanging has no movement. None. We can call it the present, but to the mind that's not enough. It's got to have something to hold on to, so we give it words. Isn't it so? What is it that grabs your mind and brings it back into place?
Not my will, but thy will.
That's right. They're my words. Thy will and thy will alone. Even knowing there's no thy, it's enough. Thank you.